When I was little boy, when I was growing up, I was already living in San Diego, and I wanted to be like this guy that you see on the screen, Greg Plitt. He was a fitness model. He had the most amazing body, and I used to live on the website bodybuilding.com. I used to live, love, breathe fitness and becoming the best version of myself. I personally never was harmed by any of that content. But apparently the consumption of fitness content, of masculinity is growing so much that now it's taking the place of a father figure. Boys nowadays are looking up to influencers to content creators instead of their pop for advice on how to be a man. There is a new study that reveals how online content for men or for young boys is affecting the lives of the new generation. Look, let me show you. But before I show you, hello, I am Efren Rodriguez. I'm Efren Rodriguez Guerrero, fitness professional, and I deliver breaking news, health, and fitness tips on top of information about gang stalking. Let's watch the video. Subscribe, okay?
For generations, boys counted on their dads to teach them how to be a man.
Whenever we cook outside, you always do it. How come?
Well, it's sort of traditional, I guess.
But now, masculinity is something that's also taught online. A new study from Common Sense Media finds nearly 3/4 of boys ages 11 to 17 regularly see digital masculinity content.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but how do you define digital masculinity?
Most often about making money, building muscle, and content about fighting, weapons, or guns.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Growing up, I never had any interest in looking up gun stuff, but
9% of young boys are also regularly exposed to what Common Sense calls problematic gender messaging, like the idea that girls only want to date certain types of guys.
I think it's very...
And I don't think that's problematic, though. I feel like looking at something that you feel like you have to be and striving for that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. How can that be problematic? You know what I mean?
Hard to be a teenager today, and it's really hard to be a teenage boy.
Jim Steyer is CEO and founder of Common Sense Media.
It looks like he had a really rough time being a teenage boy.
Happening to our boys?
They're getting constant messages about how to be muscular, how to look tough, how to dress, how they
There's nothing wrong with that.
should be exercising and eating, oftentimes from completely non-reputable sources.
I do agree about that because there's a lot of men that push this perfect physique, but they're all on steroids. And it's like, dude, really?
Common Sense says those sources can include influencers on social media who promote harmful gender stereotypes. Boys with high exposure to that kind of content are more likely to have low self-esteem and hide their emotions.
I don't feel like it's going to give them low self-esteem. I feel that it's going to make them strive for something. Because if you're watching, this is how you become a man and look really good and have a good job and make money. If you're looking at that content, you are going to be inspired to do those things. And there's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with doing any of those things.
They're hearing over and over again the same thing. You can't show weakness. You don't want to be a wimp. And what it does to kids' self-esteem and self-image is
No, it's good to not be a wimp. What? Is he saying that being a wimp is okay?
really damaging.
They don't necessarily have to be looking for this content, right?
Maybe they're going on to look at their favorite sports team, but because of the algorithms on the big social media platforms, they then can go quickly down a rabbit hole of masculinity lessons.
16-year-old Miles
If someone is already looking at sports content, I mean, it comes with it.
Mueller recently started his junior year in high school outside New York City. Like most teens, he says he spends hours a day scrolling.
What does your social media feed kind of look like?
I get a lot of sports stuff, especially for boxing and mixed martial arts.
Outside of school, Miles enjoys working out and boxing.
Like, that's pretty good. That's really good.
So he tends to look for videos about that.
When you look at fitness videos, they're going to try to suggest other types of fitness videos to see what you're into. And you're probably going to get a video that's just pushing like more toxic fitness behavior. Like, oh, big calorie deficit. You should be eating like 1 meal a day. It's just harmful. It's flat out.
You don't get that. I've never had that type of content, ever. And I'm always on a diet.
harmful.
According to the study, 91% of boys encounter body transformation messages online.
Yeah.
A lot of people associate body image kind of videos with girls.
Right, exactly.
And Miles is saying, no, I'm seeing those too. Does that surprise you?
Yeah.
Miles's mom, Joanna,
That is not surprising.
says it's hard to know what kids are being exposed to on social media.
You have to have, I think, a mature sense of what you're looking at and what's real and what's not. And a lot of these kids don't have it. It's terrifying.
That's where your job comes in, where you have to teach your kid how to differentiate. She has an idea because she's on that freaking segment, you know?
Experts say it's critical for parents to have open conversations with their boys.
Yeah.
You have to hear them out about what they're being exposed to, but you share your own values with them. That is the most powerful antidote to any of the content they're going to see online.
Miles says he's able to see past the problematic messaging online.
I know how I want to be. I know how I am currently. If I'm changing myself, it's not for others, it's going to be for myself.
If you want to know what masculinity is, what being a man is, who would you turn to?
Probably my dad.
Having a good
That's
relationship
sweet.
with Miles and knowing that he can talk to us is like really the best we can do. I can't change what's out there, but I can hopefully help him see it in a healthy way.
It was really clear that Miles is a teen who knows himself, and he's not seeing some of the problematic gender stereotypes that other boys in other parts of the country do. But he did tell me that if he had seen some of those workout influencers talking about how to have the perfect body when he was younger, it might have had more impact on his self-esteem. All the major social media platforms do have parental controls available, but common sense says the real solution, guys, as kids age, is having that ongoing dialogue with your boys and your girls, and just sitting with them and looking at, having them show you what they like to see online. One positive thing in this study, in the report, almost 80% of kids said they trust their parents to talk to the most.
Good.
That's really good. Almost 80%. That's actually really, really good.
Any other source. So
That's a good number. That's a high number.
The gentleman in the piece there, who's become an expert there with Common Sense Media, he said something that I think we should all take note of. The algorithm. Like the social media companies know what they're doing. They know what they're feeding our kids. And I just think that, you know, collectively, as a society, we should probably speak a little bit more loudly about the algorithm.
But it seems like they're out as there's parental controls. Now, do you know how to go in there and change those parental controls?
And that's
just they're out.
Or we talked about this last week, user controls, right? The social media companies say, well, the users can control, but when it's a kid,
correct,
right? When the user's 13 or 11 years old.
Well,
It's also not their job.
It's not a perfect analogy, but if you hook someone on drugs and say, but you can quit anytime, it's not exactly fair.
Not a far-off analogy, I don't think.
No, maybe not.
And I'll say as much as that input comes into young-
That actually is a really good point. Like that actually is a really good point.
And I have a 16-year-old son. It's on us. It's on the dads to also say, hey, whatever you're learning about masculinity, however hard it is in one direction, don't forget being vulnerable is being a man. Talking about your emotions is being a man. Being humble in your faith is being a man. So at least there's some balance coming in.
Right, because that's some of what they found was that the kids that were getting the most masculinity messages were thinking they couldn't talk about their feelings.
You know, Jonathan, we talk about it all day, and we have, but, you know, Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the...
Notice that the one who pitched that report is the one who has the most negative impression about it. So the one who made the pitch was the reporter. And she's the one just posing all of the problems. Her. She was the one that was making all the questions. So she is the one pushing this narrative onto everyone for her piece that she is doing right now. But I personally don't think that anything negative, actually no, I do think that a lot of negative things have come from that hyper masculine content, because a lot of people that I know use steroids to have that look. But I mean, if you're big and muscular, and let's say that you do a couple of cycles, but then you have a good job and you make money, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There isn't.
Masculinity messages were thinking they couldn't talk about their feelings.
You know, Jonathan, we talk about it all day, and we have, but, you know, Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Anxious Generation, one of the things he also says is there's just no good reason for kids to have a device of any sort in their room. And there's a great PSA right now. It's basically the father saying, good night, sweetie, have a good night, closes the door, and there's a Russian hacker, and there's porn, and there's, you know, all these different influences, and it's just not fair to ask our kids to have to try to
It feels like such an
battle
uphill
against that.
battle to go and pull those devices. out of the
We
room.
made a
Gotta do
rule. My kids are older than yours. We
Yes.
made a rule when they were like 10 that they're never going in your room, and we stuck to it.
Yeah.
And you used to lock Nick's phone in.
We actually had to put.
You used to lock
Nick's
Nick
stuff.
away? What?
No, we put Nick in a safe.
Oh, okay.
We put all of his devices
One
in
way.
a safe. The time operated.
Smart.
Safe. And by the way, they see us doom scrolling.
Of course.
So,
Absolutely.
You know, we need to be a little more cognizant.
Well, the
of that as
algorithm
well.
comes for all of us, too.
That's right. That's why it's called the algorithm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Uncle algorithm.
That's a crazy thing to say. The algorithm comes for all of us. Damn. Well, what do you think? Do you think that content about being a man is negative? Put that in the comments on which side you're on. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.